I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Our Voices, the People's Media. Today, we need to address some of the things that are going on in Selma, Alabama. As you know, it's the 60th anniversary. My intention was to go today and got caught up in the storm, so I had to turn around and come back home. The wind blow over a big truck, so I know my little car wouldn't have stood a chance out there. So I just came on back home. Unfortunately. But we'll go to our host, Mr. Darren Scott, who is the chair of the Scamming Democrat Party. Jill Daggs, who is the Okaloosa State Committee woman. Mr. Vernon Watson, where you'll be watching this show on Roku, Fire Stick, and WBQP TV, YouTube, and of course our Facebook pages. So, Derek, back to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a terrific afternoon and hope you had a great weekend. Certainly, what we'd like to do is recognize our hosts who are not with us today, Miss Christina Forrest, who is in Selma as we speak, commemorating the 60th anniversary of the Selma marching over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so we wish her safe travels. And Ms. Cheryl Moran, who had our previous engagement as well. So what we will do is we will do our normal host roundtable, and I will go start with you, Mr. McIntosh.
All right. We are recruiting members for Move for Change. You can give me a call at 850-206-3776. We're going to need your help in making sure that the organization grow and continue for another 28 years. Of course, this is our annual 28th Freedom is Not Free banquet, which is June 20th, which is a Friday, June 20th at the doors open at 5:30 p.m. It'll be at 1602. Cervantes at It's Personal by Sheila's. We hope to see you there. Tickets are only $50. So come on out and become a part of something greater than yourself. We definitely need a Move for Change in every organization now more than ever in the last 60 years. As a matter of fact, 60 years ago, we got our the Voting Rights Act, 60 some years ago, and the Fair Housing and the Civil Rights Bill, and all have been particularly taken away from us now. So it's up to us to continue to make sure our children and grandchildren and unborn generation will have a fair shot and making sure that, this democracy works the way it's supposed to. And there are those who are determined to destroy it. But be sure to join Moves for Change. The membership is only $35 a year. And we have a pro rate for those who are 60 and over, which is $25. So be sure to tune in. Be sure to become a member of Move for Change so we can, because we will be protesting in the streets about what's going on with our Social Security and other things that are affecting us, affecting our grandparents, going to affect nursing homes and that. So we'll talk some of the things I'm talking about. We will talk about in detail tonight. So back to you, Derek.
Thank you for that, Mr. McIntosh. Mr. Vernon, what do you have for us today? You're muted. Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Jill.
Good evening. I was on mute as well. It's great to be here. The rain didn't stop us from being here, Jerry, so this is probably where we needed to be.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we're going to call it. So for Okaloosa County, before I get into the fabulous election stuff, I will let you know for some of the organizations that are there. The Okaloosa Democratic Black Caucus had their election last weekend, and our relatively new president, he took over for our former president, and now he is the elected president, John Armour. Our first vice president is Gwen Quinn, and our second vice president is Jocelyn Donahue. Our secretary is Tamara Moon, and our treasurer is Ellis Hodges. Invite everybody the second Monday of every month to come and join the Okaloosa County Democratic Black Caucus, get engaged, get involved. We will roll that into soon. The importance of April 1st. But also I want to share that the Okaloosa County DEC, who is now phone banking every single day, texting every single day. We are canvassing on Saturday mornings in Crestview at 10 o'clock and in Fort Walton Beach at 2 o'clock. And you can, of course, do postcarding. You can have stuff, canvassing bags. There's so much that needs to be done. And we have a municipal election on Tuesday, March 11th. I can't believe the time is going so fast, yet so slow, yet so crazy. So we have several across, but one of the ones that is most important is Fort Walton Beach. We have two candidates that are running that are Democrats that we would like for you to really, truly think about voting for. If you are not a Democrat and you're trying to figure out what's best for Fort Walton Beach, look at them and don't see the Democratic name around them, see what they stand for, because they are fighting for the safety and the preservation of Fort Walton Beach. And their names are Sonia Vasquez and Debbie Riley. So there is an election Tuesday morning, 7 to 7, get out and vote. We're going to be waving signs. We're going to be poll watching. We're going to be still encouraging people. We're doing a text bank thanks to the some gracious people who have said, hey, we believe in you guys. We're going to help you guys text those people, because we know that if they come out in a municipal election, which is usually very, very low turnout, then they are more likely to come out in just a few more days to the special election. Early voting is March 22nd through the 29th, and that's literally right around the corner. So we're hoping that at least in Okaloosa County, that we can encourage all of our voters to get out, get prepared, make it like a practice run. This is just really critical. You don't often get this opportunity where really, if we do it right, we can get two Democrats on the city council in Fort Walton Beach. And if we get those two Democrats on the city council in Fort Walton Beach, that means I know for sure those same people are going to go out and vote for Gabe Vallimont on April 1st, or between March 22nd, 29th, April 1st, or early voting by doing your vote by mail. And we're just excited. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a do-over. So as sad and as disappointing as November was, it's like we've had our time to be. We haven't had any time, to be honest. If you're a volunteer in the Democratic Party, we haven't had any time. But the rest of you have had time to get for it to be less irritating, less upsetting, less angry, or maybe you're even more angry, and what you should do is go vote. But whatever it is, this is the time. The time is now. We can't sit back. Like, if we lose this opportunity, we're going to have 3.5 more years, at least minimum, of hell. And I just really would like to be on earth without being on hell on earth. So I'm really begging you to get the information. I'm not asking you just to vote for Gabe Vallimont because he's a Democrat. Matter of fact, you can take that off the table. Vote for Gabe Vallimont because she is fighting for you, because she knows that you are struggling, and because she cares for our entire community. Doesn't matter where you live across this county, she's who you are, or how, whatever it is, she's there. She understands the veterans issues. She understands the insurance issues. She understands that everything that's going on in the White House is impacting every single one of us. And so we're trying to get you the education. We tried to tell you before. And this time, I just hope that everybody will truly listen. We're not just telling you this because we don't have anything better to do. I can name about 5 million things that might be funner to do, but I don't know that I can name a single thing that would be better to do than to save our community and then save this country. And that's what you have the opportunity to do if you will get out and you will vote April 1st. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Derek Scott, who will go over specific dates and all the stuff that they're doing in Escambia. And just truly, truly take the time, think about the impact that you individually, collectively with your family, your friends, your neighbors can make if you just vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. As Jill said, we have a couple things, so I'll go in terms of the easiest to the most important. No, they're all equally important, but certainly this one we can get done soon. We just had a very great opportunity of listening to Mr. McIntosh give a wonderful presentation on the 4th about the U.S. Constitution. And I will say, if you have not participated in the Strengthening Democracy Civics modules on Tuesdays, this is your opportunity to do so. We have 4 more sessions to go. There's one this Tuesday on the 11th, one the following Tuesday on the 18th, again on the 25th, and then on April 1st. So those are the dates. This week, we will be hearing about the 27 amendments to the Constitution, and that will be a wonderful class. So please, I encourage each of you to come. They start at 6 p.m. at Overflow Health Alliance, which is located at 3101 North Davis Highway. That is 1 block south of Tahar if you are going south on MLK. If you are going north on Davis, it is 1 block before Tahar, right before you get to the True Leave place. If you see these marker is to look for the signs that say we rent U-Hauls, turn there because it is at that very same building. So again, that's at 6 p.m. at 3101 North Davis Highway. As Jill mentioned, we are in a special election here in Escambia County. Well, I'll stick with Okaloosa because they have dates too that you want to make sure that you're aware of and avail yourself of. Their municipal election, as Jill indicated, is the 11th, and the early voting for that election has already concluded. So the last opportunity to vote for either Debbie Riley or Sonia Vasquez are on the 11th. So please make sure you do that. On April 1st, what we're doing all the work around, and that is to send Gabe Alamont to Congress. So please, if you have not yet requested a vote by mail ballot, the last day to do so is March the 20th. So you have officially 11 more days to do so. In early voting, whether you're in Escambia County or Santa Rosa or Okaloosa, it's going to be March 22nd through the 29th. If you are in Okaloosa County, you can vote either at Okaloosa County SOE at Wilson Street, the Administration Building on Eglin Parkway, the Crestview Library on Commerce Drive, the Destin Community Center on Stallman Avenue, and the Niceville City Hall. Looking for Jill to give me some help.
I'm laughing because I'm wondering why you could have just said, here, let me do Escambia and give it to Jill. But yes, that's the name.
Well, no,
Go
you
ahead.
gave it to me. So Niceville on Parton Drive. So the same details will apply if you're in Santa Rosa, but certainly if you are in Escambia County, again, you can vote at any one of our early voting locations. Again, March 20th is the last day to request a vote by mail deadline, to request a vote by mail ballot. But you can vote at the Supervisor of Elections office, which is on the Powfox Place, 213, on the 2nd floor. The Downtown Library, which is on Spring Street, the Molino Community Center, which is on Highway 95A, the Tryon Branch Library on Langley, the Southwest Library on Old Gulf Beach Highway, the Bellevue Library on Mobile Highway, the Escambia County Extension Service on Stefani Road, the Brownsville Community Center on West DeSoto Street, the UWF Center for Fine and Performing Arts on University Parkway, that's Building 78, and the Billy G. Ward Courthouse for those neighbors in north end of the county in Century. Please avail yourself of any one of those early voting locations. They are going to be open here in Escambia County from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You probably have, well, I am hoping that a good many of you have received one of our, if not a phone call from the Escambia Democrats, if not someone knocking on the door from the Democrats, if not a postcard. But please know that there is an election and we need to do everything that we can. If we can get 50% of our folks out in Escambia County, we could absolutely win this election. I'll even go as low as 40%. If we can get 40% of our Democrats out, we absolutely could do this. So now it's opportunity. Please make sure you do so. And if you want to know how you can help, I will tell you, we are still we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. If you can make phone calls, we have 3 opportunities where you can sit down and make phone calls. You can call veterans, you can call people to return their vote by mail ballots, or you can call people who have not re-enrolled in vote by mail but used to be re-enrolled. Those 3 things are available for you. You can knock doors with us. We knock doors here in Escambia County every Saturday and Sunday. So every Saturday and Sunday until the 31st, through the 31st, rather, I should say, or through the 30th, rather. We will be knocking doors here in Escambia County. So if we do that from 1:30 to 4 p.m., you can meet us at our office located at 2618 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. We are also looking for people to text. Texting is probably the simplest of all these activities because all you do is just reply to text messages. And the last thing that we are doing is postcards. So if you can write some postcards, please reach out. Again, you can reach out to our office, and that's here in Escambia County at 850-407-7997. Again, that is 850-407-7997. Jill, you're about to say something?
Well, I was. But it was just that I didn't want to cut you off. Derek's correct, but we don't just need 50% in Escambia. They can't do it by themselves. We don't just need 50% in Santa Rosa. We don't need just 50% in Okaloosa. And shoot, if we could get anybody in Walton to do what they need to do, that would be great too. So it's going to take us all. It really is. And I know we give you guys all this information, and I guess I'm that quiet, persuading voice. That's what I'm trying to be, the quiet, persuading voice that says, you know what, I'm going to do it one more time. This is the election of a lifetime, and I'm going to go cast my ballot, whether that's vote by mail, that's early voting, or on April 1st. Just do it so that we can make history for the first time ever, and because we'll be saving our community and the United States. And we get to do that in our communities. Like they've never, since Andrew Gillum won was the only time they actually looked up here for some support. This is the first time ever. And we have people that are volunteering from every part of the United States. So every state of the United States is helping in CD1 or CD6. So if they can do the work that they're doing, literally traveling down here or sending money down here or knocking doors or postcarding for us, texting for us, all the things that they're doing, can't we at least do our part? That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, I will say this because I continue to say it this weekend. Everybody said, oh, that's a compelling speech. I don't know how compelling it was, but we'll see if it works for those of you all in our viewing audience. And I want you to keep this one number in your head, and that number is 4. And what does that mean for you? 4 is the number of hours that I asked if you could donate to save the world every week from now until the end of the month. Would you do 4 hours? If you could text for 2 hours, if you could phone bank for 2 hours, for 2 days a week, for a total of 4 hours, that could be enough. Wouldn't you like to say, hey, literally, I was a part of saving the world? Because that's where we are right now. We're saving the world. As Jill said, we have volunteers from every other state, all 49 states, who recognize the importance of this. Nobody has ever asked, hey, Escambia, can you help save the world? Hey, Santa Rosa, can you help save the world? Hey, Okaloosa, can you help save the world? Hey, Walton, can you do something? Nobody has ever asked that question, right? But now we have a unique opportunity that all eyes are on us. So if everybody else can recognize the importance of it, certainly we who live here every day, who we're looking to send a representative that is going to represent us every day, can actually get engaged and get in the fight. So again, just 4 hours, just four, not 39 cents a day, not any other number, just 4 hours every week. That's all it is. And
I want to give my 39 cents a day. I give 39 cents a day because my 12 hours a day is if I could just, can I switch?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. So we're trying to get people engaged to want to do stuff. You can't tell them that you work in 12-hour days.
Well, that's why they only have to do 4.
Yeah,
because we
right.
carry the weight of the long 12,
so
15 hours. We just want y'all to do 4. A week?
A week, not even a day. Yeah, just 4 hours a week. 4 hours a week. So if you can do that.
So Okaloosa, we're smaller, so I'm going to need you to do 7 hours a week, just an hour a day, because we need to catch up because we have to do our part. They've got more.
I was like, why would you need more hours if you're smaller? But I get you want to catch up.
Because we got to catch up. If we want 50%, it's going to take us a little bit more. But whether it's 4 hours, 7 hours, even if it's just 1 hour, the biggest thing is vote.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So, and then I will share that we just recently had, I guess, since the event's over, we can talk about it, right? I would think. No? Okay, never mind. So I don't have anything else to share. I don't understand why I can't talk about it. It's already in. Well, okay. I don't know what you're saying. You're muted.
But
what
there's
saying?
I'm not muted.
You're unmuted now. I unmuted you.
Oh, I was like, I'm not muted. It's not. We have a lot of things going on that we would love to share with you after April 1st, but you know how you can find out all of the things that we can't say? Get engaged and involved. And you too will get to see and experience everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, fun times, I guess. Okay, Mr. McIntosh, I am turning it back over to you.
Yes. Well, just want to talk about all the tariffs again that Trump is putting on these countries and messing up our economy. As you saw, Canada, I think that was one of the spokesperson for Canada, telling Trump that they were not going to accept anything that he was doing, that they were not going to be no 51st state of the United States, and that they was taking all this liquor and other things off the shelves over there that we sell to them. They were doing us one up, because some of the stuff that still come into this country, even with the tariffs, people gonna buy. Some people gonna buy it who can afford it, but they are taking it off the shelf, so the market that is needed over there is folding up, especially for liquor and other things that we sell to them over there in Canada, who is our neighbor right across the bridge there, or what you call it, the gate or whatever, going into Michigan and other places. But for America to try to destroy its biggest trading partners, who Trump renegotiated a contract with when he was there in 2016. And Now he said it must have been some kind of dumb person that negotiated the contract. Well, he forgot he was the one that had negotiated the contract with the Canadians and the Mexican uh, state over there, and now he wanted to put tariffs on them, 25% tariffs on those individuals, and they're saying no. If you put tariffs on us, we're gonna put tariffs on you. We're gonna fight fire with fire. It's something that they understand the power they have, and they've cut ties with Elon Musk and his programs. Canada cut ties with him day before yesterday, I believe. They're gonna lose millions, hundreds of millions of dollars with his space link, whatever you call that thing he got. And it's just gonna be people are gonna lose a lot of money. The farmers with USAID, they losing tons and tons of money. The farmers in Nebraska are crying out, and I think they voted about 80% for Trump, and now they are about to lose their farm, and a big corporation gonna come in with their greed merchants and suck them all up. But they all on YouTube and TikTok, trying about their farm, and they want, I still support what Trump is doing. I'm like, you thought this was going to only hurt Black and brown people when you voted for Trump. That's what you voted for. You voted to hurt somebody else, but now you're the one. Martin Luther King was right when he said we are all tied together in a single garment of destiny, and whatever affects one directly, indirectly affect all. And they seeing now, and they are begging Black people to come out on the streets with them. There are Black women on TikTok and YouTube and other places saying, no, we're tired, we're not coming. I think that, this is just my opinion. I think that'd be a mistake for us not to be involved, because then you have totally separated yourself out. And I understand from all the fighting and struggles that we have done, and everybody else have gotten the benefit of it, especially white women who got the benefit of affirmative action, who got the benefit of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Black people never got the benefit of the thing that they fought for, and that was affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion, corporate economics. None of those things benefited us in a way it should, but it did help us on some level. Like I always tell people when they talk about affirmative action, well, affirmative action wasn't all that. It wasn't no good. I said, yeah, but affirmative action got you to the door. It opened the door for you. No, it didn't do the work for you. It was never meant to do the work for you. It was a means for opening the door to get you through the door so that you could sit down and talk to somebody about if you wanted a job, if you wanted a loan, if you wanted, to be in the best schools. That's all it was, an open door. But you had to do the work once you got there. And a lot of times people were hiring people that they know was not up to par or greatly qualified for a certain job. And that's not all, that was a few. But that was to make sure that the best qualified person didn't get there, so they didn't have to be promoted or they couldn't compete for the top jobs in that corporation. And now through the cutting of jobs in the public sector, which is in the federal government, state government, and city governments, where the majority of Black people work, 18% of Black people in this country work for the federal government. That's all, they say we are 12 to 14% of the population. We are over we are over measured, I would say, per capita in the federal government, and which because the public sector, I mean, the private sector was not hiring us, corporation was not hiring us on the level that the federal government was. So um, when people saying, I hear people saying, that's good, they cutting the federal government, it's going to make hurt white people. No, it's not just going to hurt white people. Some of the top positions in this country is held by blacks. Like the Joint Chiefs of Staff that they just fired, Brown, like people that's working in communication in other places in the country. They are being cut. They are being removed from their position of authority in a position and to be able to hire other African Americans and other people in this country. So it's going to be rough. And you have to think about when you cutting that many people, how much money is being taken out of the economy every day. These people spend money on gas, going to work. They spend money on new computers and furniture and housing. All of that money is being taken out of the economy, which could easily crash the economy within the next 60 days if we're not very careful. So there.
Yeah, what I would say is for me, number one, the tariffs have gone already into effect. They went in, for those unaware, they went in effective March 4th. So we're going to March 4th and then March 7th. So they implemented 5 of the orders in the tariffs from imports in Hong Kong, Canada, and Mexico. And there, in addition to that, additional 25% tariffs that don't satisfy the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, additional 10% on imports from Canada, 10% on all potash from Canada and Mexico, and 20% addition on goods from China and Hong Kong, increased from the already 10% over that was implemented on March 4th. So this is going to kill the U.S. economy. And as such, like they did, I said, boy, these folks think they're doing something, but all of our other allies, or used to be allies, are playing chess because they're striking where it's hurting them. Like the Canada, for example, canceled all of their contractual agreements with Starlink, which is, we know that's owned by Elon Musk, right? So he hit him in the pocket. They hit him in the pocket immediately. Canada also said, okay, we're going to cancel all imports on was it bourbon and whiskey? Specifically, everything that's imported from red states, they're removing off their shelves. So think about it. Like when I look at that, I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to work. Because like I look at, okay, so I don't know what all comes from where, right? But I guess assuming bourbon and whiskey comes from Kentucky or someplace thereabout, right? You would think. And but I know, like I look at one thing, it's like AccuView and SureView contact lenses. They're made directly here in the state of Florida in Jacksonville. So there's going to be a lot of blind folks in Canada if they can't get their contact lenses. So like little things that they're hurting, and I absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that Johnson & Johnson supports Donald J. Trump. So I wonder how much of their businesses are going to be penalized by the bravosity that is Donald Trump, to think that he is just all knowing and all like, oh, we can do this, right? And we've already seen the effect that it's had, as you mentioned, on the farmers, particularly those who are soybean farmers. They're about to have the rug pulled from under them. So it's tough. And they keep saying, to hear them with their response of, oh, we expect tough times, but we'll get through it. We can make it. It's going to be hard. That is such from a point of privilege if I've never heard it myself. Like, if you got Elon Musk money, okay, yeah, you'll be all right. Well, for those folks who get SNAP benefits, for those folks who are barely making it, who are at a lower, less than high hourly wage, they are going to be suffering. So to say, "Oh, you'll get through it," is not only insulting; it's preposterous to even think that that's what your thought process is. But again, when you come from a white, a centrist standpoint of white supremacy and privilege, those are the kind of things that you do. Like, oh, okay, you'll be all right. So who? I might be okay, but that doesn't mean my neighbor is going to be all right. And that's where we have to be concerned. We're not in it just for ourselves. We're in it for everybody. And at this point in time, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting, slowly waiting for somebody to come and bomb or shoot a missile at the United States, because we are vulnerable, because we don't have qualified people who are leading this nation. I forget the man's name, and I should know it because he's a member of Alpha Alpha. What is that man's name? But he was the Joint Chiefs of Staff, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yeah.
They hired him for a three-star general. Yeah,
Right.
Like, this is beyond absolutely ridiculous. And even when we're at the point where we're hearing about it, we can no longer trust the news because the media sources and outlets are caving to him, as evidenced by them firing all the women of color from their shows, particularly Joy Ann Reid. So it's these are the unprecedented times that we're living in, and the fact that we're pissing off allies is, the thing that is most concerning to me, because these people have continued to put their two lips and press their tongue against their teeth to say that Zelensky is a dictator and Putin is all right. In what world does that, even if you just don't know anything about what's going on, when has ever been Russia been the good guy? Like, I just don't, I'm perplexed and amazed. Well, not really amazed. Amazed is the wrong word, because we had a whole 900+ page document called Project 2025 that outlined what he was going to do. What I am amazed, though, is at the speed in which they have gone through Project 2025, because at this pace, they're set to be fully implemented in Project 2025 by the end of June.
Yeah. And what they are doing, they making it so confusing, and what they call flooding the zone. They just throw everything out there at one time, and some of it gonna go through and some not. They know that some of it is not gonna go through, but a big majority, and what they are doing is making sure these confirmation hearings, the people that Trump put in have nominated to the cabinets are going through. They are sailing through, and nobody is because they got so much going on at the same time that they don't even, the senator should know who to focus on. If you're doing confirmation, you should be able, but I know that the Democrats don't have a majority anymore. So these people going to sail through regardless. And there's just so much going on right now. Speaking of Tesla, though, and Elon Musk, if y'all see where they burnt Tesla, one of the big dealerships to the ground over there in Europe, and all the cars burned it to the ground, and he have become the focus point. He's been going around the world and pushing right wing and supporting and upholding right wing lunatics that they call us in America. But he's been running around, and now the people are mad at him all over the world. And that, with this U.S. aid package being killed, people gonna know what products you sell around the world, what you are doing. And so they're going to attack whatever you have that's convenient to be attacked. And the people have been beating up Tesla cars and stuff. That's right here in the United States. People are. I don't know whether y'all saw where they have put graffiti all over these so-called trucks. These you've seen them things running around looking like something from outer space. But they put one place they just graffitied the hell out of all the cars up there. So he's gonna end up losing a lot of money. Even though he loses a lot, he's still gonna be super rich, one of the richest men in the world. But because he's making what tens of millions of dollars a day now, all his interest alone. But also while I'm thinking about it, somebody asked me to talk about the punch bowl, that was the concentration camp in Natchez, Mississippi. Did y'all hear about the Devil's Punch Bowl? Have y'all ever read anything about that? It was a concentration camp during the Civil War. Natchez, Mississippi had about 10,000 people in it. Well, when people was escaping the plantation and the fighting, Natchez seemed to be a safe place to go, and all the slaves that was escaping these plantation and war and stuff, they went to Natchez, Mississippi. Well, they put them in concentration. Union Army now. That's something they don't talk about. Put these people in concentration camp. Diseases came up on them. They put it's possibility. Some were saying that the government gave them smallpox because it went from 10,000 people to 100,000 overnight, and they didn't have no place to put all these people or couldn't feed all the people at one time. So they said. So they put them in the concentration camp, and wouldn't let. There were people big and said they would rather go back to the plantation than to live under the condition that they were living in, and they were not allowed to leave at all. And if they died there, they had to bury the people right there, because they wasn't allowed. And they told them, don't let them out. Smallpox, somebody gave them smallpox more than likely. It broke out. Other diseases broke out, but they wouldn't let them out of the concentration camp. So from my reading, it could be as many as 60 to 80,000 people died in that concentration camp, and they had to bury each other, and few survived and got a chance to leave there. So the person that called me, I was talking to them about some Black history, and I was telling them about the Devil's Punch Bowl. Said, you need to talk about that on your show. I said, I will mention it and speak on it a little bit, but I would encourage anybody to Google the Devil's Punch Bowl in Natchez, Mississippi, so that they could read about how terrible and how cruel. And it's one of the biggest and most beautiful peach orchards in they say in all of Mississippi, but nobody will eat the fruit from those peaches that grow on those trees there, because they probably filled with the blood of our ancestors. So, but I'll digress back to where we were on Elon Musk and Trump and these tariffs. But I had to throw that in while I was thinking about it, because when it wants to leave, it's gone. But anyway, those tariffs it's going to cost us something. Already, Vernon, how much you paid for eggs lately?
Let me put my mic.
You're on mute, Vern.
Let me put my mic on. Eggs been expensive, Jerry. I hadn't been to the grocery store lately, but last time I went, it was like $8-9 a dozen. So
Yeah.
I hadn't been lately. I'm scared to go. In fact, you know how I live my life, Jerry? I live my life is that something that I don't even look at the price. Something as a necessity. If I need it,
Mhm.
I just buy it. I just buy it blindly and hope not to have a heart attack after the fact.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to buy food and even just go to a restaurant now is very expensive because they are adding more to it, and then they add the gratuity, and then they want you to tip on top of the gratuity. Go ahead, Jill. You was about to say something.
So, and I wasn't gonna share, but since Vernon let me share, because he said he just buys things, I don't even know how you do that. Because I've been trying, because the doctor said I need to eat more protein, and I don't like eggs, so they're not on my list of things to do. They're in everything, so I eat the things that they're in, but I'm not gonna just buy a dozen eggs to eat it, ever. But I went to Smoothie King like I always do. And this morning that I went, I ordered a small. I normally order a medium. I always order a medium. And I was like, you know what? I really don't need the medium. I'll just order the small. And I got to the window and she gave me the price and it was $3 more than it normally is. It was the same price as the medium and not on Friday where they give you the $2 off. And she was already making it. And I'm like, what am I paying for? And she was like, all our prices went up. And I'm like, at this location only? And at the same time, probably 2 minutes later, my daughter called and said, Mom, and she's in Orlando, I'm at Smoothie King and it went up $3. So I've decided I cannot do Smoothie King, even though I can get the Gladiator and get 45 grams of protein in one drink. And I need to. So now I got to go research, Vernon, find the right protein. And I'm going to have to make my own protein drink at home, which I probably should have been doing anyway. But I'm not just going to go buy it. I'm going to buy the protein that's best for me, that's the most affordable, and the bananas and the almond butter and the oat milk and all of that. And I'll just have to do it at home. I just can't, I understand some people can just, okay, just suck it up, just do it. I'm just not one of those people, not for that. And again, that's a want, that's not a need, it's not a necessity.
Did your doctor
But
just say you had to have more protein?
at that what?
More protein?
Do I need more protein? Is that what you said?
Didn't the doctor tell you? You said it
Yeah,
was
I
a
have
want,
to. I do have to,
but
but I'm
it's a
saying
necessity.
Smoothie King is not a necessity. The protein is.
Uh,
So I have to choose, and it's not like you have to go to Smoothie King to get protein. There's many other ways to get protein. I just choose to go to at the time, but I'm not going. And I've done well. I didn't even go Friday when you get the $2 off. I just couldn't do it because I'm sure it was going to be $15 for a cup of nothing. I just can't do it.
Mr. Vernon, I'm like you. I don't ever um, I guess I have a concept of how much stuff costs, but I don't look at like, ooh, just went up. Ooh, wait a minute, hold on, I just bought, right? Like as long as my account is all right, then I'm all right, right? So that's what I am. But I looked at I just looked up because we were talking about eggs, and I always buy Eggland's Best, extra large, 18, a dozen and a half eggs. And they're 961 where I get them. And I'm like, oh, that seems high, but I don't know that I remember what they were like before 2 months ago. So it seems high. I guess now I need to pay more attention. But I tell you what I am doing. I am trying my best to purchase another vehicle within the next week or two because I started looking. I was like, ooh, this high. And as I started thinking about it, I know that tariffs on vehicles are going to go up, make the price of new vehicle purchases exceptionally high, which means that pre-owned or certified pre-owned vehicle purchases are going to increase as well because they're going to sell those at much higher markup too. So I'm trying to hurry up and do this before they gouge my pockets. So I get it.
And pods and everything else.
You can still go to Sam's and get 15 dozen eggs for
Who
$72.42.
wants 15 dozen eggs?
Well, shoot, if you need eggs, share them with your neighbors. I don't know. It's still
15
cheaper than,
dozen eggs
I
is
just can't
crazy.
even imagine paying almost $1 for an egg for a dozen eggs. So you know who needs to? Anybody who's paying almost $1 for a dozen eggs. That's crazy. I mean, per egg in the dozen egg. That's crazy. I'm just
So I would,
I'm a budgeter and a shopper by life. Like I think I came out of the womb that way. I raised my children. Well, I raised Jenna that way. My other children just buy what they want to buy and they can afford to do so, so they do it. Um, but it needs to be a deal for me to spend my money, but at least especially on me. But I'm with Derek. Yes, if you're gonna buy a car, you better hurry up and do it quickly.
mhm.
Quick.
See, my thing is, I'm the same way you are. I'm the Jill. I'm like you in a sense, okay? If anything costs 1 penny more than I think it is worth, I don't buy it. If it costs just 1 penny, I just don't buy it. But
No,
then I learned that, well, if it's a necessity, I
Mhm.
just don't. I just don't look at the price of it because it's going to irritate me. It just really just irritates me to do it, and so I just buy it blindly and just get on with it. Because if I don't buy it, if I look at the price of it, then my system said, no, you're not going to buy this, knowing that it's
Recording
not
in
going to be cheaper
progress.
anywhere else, you know. So that's why I buy it blindly.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Sometimes I buy blind. I'm looking at them prices all the time. You know, the prices, they are killers out there now. And, for a family of 3 or 4 people, it's going to be devastating to them on there. You know, to just get grocery now. If just for a one person or 2 people, the price is ridiculous. But if you got children to feed, especially newborn babies, the infant meal that, if you're not breastfeeding, the infant meal is going to cost you a ton of money for a newborn baby now. And I thought it was expensive back in the 70s when when my children were born, but it's ridiculous now. Just to try to buy something for a child, just baby food and all of that, it costs you enormous amount of money. And then they're talking about ending the SNAP program and free lunch programs that have so helped so many children with their nutrition, to help parents with their, uh, lunch and dinners and everything that they need to make sure that children are getting a healthy meal is now under attack like never before. They're talking about cutting all that housing. When you look at housing now, they're already high, but it's gonna, when you're putting people out of jobs, how they gonna pay a rent, mortgage when they are being put out of a job? You think about the veterans that have fought for this country and have died for this country and their children. Now they're talking about cutting that as well, and that's so unfortunate.
I wonder what the MAGA world, the MAGA verse, these poor, cause you got more poor MAGA verse people than you do rich MAGA verse people. I wonder what are they saying right about now.
One of the things that Martin Luther King said, he said, "There's nothing in all the world." Now, he said, "Nothing in all the world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." So, so those individuals will listen to people like Elon Musk because they think someday they're going to be Elon Musk because they're white, you know, and and they don't realize that no, they're not going to be here. They're not going to be Trump. They're not going to be rich like him just because you're white. You know, it's more poor white people in this country than poor black people
Yeah.
because there's more of them.
Right.
You know, more of them on some kind of assistance, whether it's Social Security or some kind of pension plan,
SNAP or somebody.
governance, yeah, subsidy program, Meals on Wheel. It's more of them on it than us. And but everything that's they call everything an entitlement, as if we ain't paying to that to get it, that we are not entitled to what we paid for, like Medicare and Social Security and other things, that we have paid for over the centuries. And now they want to get rid of it because it benefit a few people in this country. 72 million people get Social Security in this country. 72 million. Out of 300 million people, 72 million get Social Security. Out of over 100 and some million people get some kind of government subsidies.
Yep.
Close to 200 million people. It's really unfortunate that they are doing what they are doing in this country. And, but people are beginning to speak out because now the Republicans are telling their representative, don't go to them town hall meetings because they're making us look bad and they are our constituency. Because their constituency never thought that this thing would backfire on them. And so they are angry, they are mad, they are going to these meetings and no representatives there. They representatives sitting there, little people that that work for them, and they getting ate alive in these meetings because they don't realize that the people want to hear from their representative, not some underling. There.
Yeah. What I do want to say, I just want to take a point of personal privilege to say hi to my favorite niece, Raven, and my dad and my brother Trevor. They're watching the show. I saw the note. So hey, guys, love you. But yeah, I do, to the point where we're seeing all of these folks with the town halls get eviscerated when they're meeting with their Republican constituency, and it's happening in these ruby red districts. I think that's telling. Now, as many, and here's where I'll say here's where I'll be able to say, okay, they're listening, they're seeing, is going to tell the story will be told on April 1st to see if all of these things matter to people. Because right now we are in as they say, a ruby red district, and we're in I said ruby red state. There was a gentleman who just was here. There was a gentleman that was just talking this weekend who said that this was not a red state, nor was it a purple state. It was a gerrymandered and voter suppressed state, which I was like, maybe, but I don't know that I'm all the way there with you on it, right? Especially when they outnumber us by 1 million people. But what I will say is that on April 1st, for the people who in this very district who are getting we saw that the VA lost, what did they lose? 1,000 folks here in Escambia County at the VA clinic here locally. We're seeing that happen, and the same folks who, when we try to reach out to the veterans, say, "Oh no, they're not going to do anything to veterans benefits." Oh well, yes, they did. It was on page 832, and guess what? March 4th, here it is, right? They implemented. So they told you when we saw the same people who are getting their SNAP benefits taken away, the same folks who are getting their Section 8 taken away or cut off. And I know that people are having that done. For those same folks, is this enough for them to say, oh, wait, hold up. Because I want to, and this is, since we're on the topic, I want to make sure that we impress upon people why everybody's looking to Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton, Marion, Putnam, Volusia, Flagler, St. John's, all these counties in Congressional District 1 and 6 to look to them for importance. Right now, there are, I have to change it now. There are now 214 Democrats. There were 215, but we just lost Congress Representative Sylvester Turner, who was the individual who replaced Representative Sheila Jackson Lee when she died last year. So we just lost Representative Turner, which took us down to 214. They're going to hold a special election for that seat, and certainly it would go without saying it's been Democratic for so long, the likelihood that it will turn Republican would be slim to none, right? But this is where we are. So we'll still go with 215 for all intents and purposes. There are 215 Democrats versus 217 Republicans. If we win the 2 seats that are in Florida, which are Florida Congressional District 1, who Gabe Alamont is looking to serve that congressional district, and Florida's Congressional District 6, which is Josh Wheel, who is looking to serve that. If those 2 individuals win, we even out the House, and with it would be 217, 216, 217, whatever the case is, right? So we're right there. That's it. So that means we can stop. And you say, I heard somebody say, oh, no, that's okay. Because they'll bring in, and this is where you have to remember that this is where the importance of civics come in. They're like, oh, well, J.D. Vance will break ties. No, there is no tiebreaker in the House. Mm-hmm. It is literally the House. So if we're at a stalemate, 217 or 217 across the board, then we are in great shape. We then move the timeline further down the line to whatever month it is, in New York with their special election. That seat goes Democratic. There'll be no more Speaker Johnson, and there'll be Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, which puts back a check and what is supposed to be the checks and balances that exist in the federal government. Right now, there are none because the House is controlled by Republicans, the Senate is controlled by Republicans, the executive branch is controlled by Republicans, and the judicial branch, who is supposed to be nonpartisan, is clearly controlled by Republicans. So there are no checks and balances. If there were, then we wouldn't have seen the ruling where the Supreme Court gave blanket immunity to the president to do anything he wanted to do. So we clearly understand. That's why when I say to save the nation and save the world, I don't mean to sound hyperbolic because that's not what I'm doing. I'm literally saying we have an opportunity to save the world in the state. And it's more than just Congressional District 1. It's more than the state of Florida. It's more than the United States because these have worldwide effects. You see the foreign aid that's been cut, that is now AIDS research and AIDS assistance that is going throughout the world is no longer being funded by the United States. These are things that have worldwide implications. They want Ukraine to concede and give that man his land, give us some minerals, and him be okay. These have worldwide implications. And so when we talk about it, we just finished talking about spending $10 or $11 on eggs. Again, these are things that affect you. There is not a decision that you make aside from when to go to sleep, maybe, or when to wake up, well, not even when to wake up, but when to go to sleep, that is not affected by politics. So whether or not you do politics, politics does you. So that's what we need to impress upon people and why it's so important to vote. Oh, you don't agree.
No, I was trying to think about.
You don't agree.
I was trying to think if when you go to sleep, for some people, that's even affected by politics, because if you listen and hear what's going on, it's probably hard to even go to sleep, or when they have to go to work or whatever. So I actually wasn't disagreeing. I just want to go back. I think Derek gave us a wonderful lesson on how this all works and why it works. No, I think it's good that you did that. But sometimes I feel like, I'm going to say this, so don't get mad at Mr. McIntosh because it's his show, that our listeners don't always listen, and they don't believe that what we're saying to you, like Project 2025, is real. And so it is absolutely true, everything he said. And whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an NPA, everything that he also said is impacting you. It will impact your family. It's coming if it's not there. You will not be the one person who can say, oh, it didn't impact me. But I really want to know, I wish we had some more veterans that weren't us. Maybe some that voted for him. Like, you're about to lose so much. You're about not to have the coverage. I don't care that you have TRICARE. If there's no doctors, your TRICARE means nothing. When is it really enough is enough? When is it that you say, look, my dad, my mom, my sister, my brother, my kids, whatever it is in your military family, whether you are a veteran or you're in service now, when is it that this is impacting our world and we can make a decision that could change it? That doesn't make you a bad Republican or a bad NPA. That makes you someone who has decided that my family and my community is more important than the party. And it wasn't in 2024. And every single one of you that voted for him got exactly what you wanted. And some of you are still on Facebook. You go to one of the churches that I visit and you're still talking the way that you talk, and you still believe that this is okay. And you still believe that it's just people of mostly color that have the issue. And I've seen the things that you've said. And it's disheartening because you're probably a good person, but your thought process, and I watched a thing on church today, and it was, if you look at things the way you look at them and you can't see other people in it, then you're being selfish. So it's time that we take away politics in the realm of what party you are and look at, how does this impact your life? And if you're one of those that says, hey, it's not really impacting me, then all you have to do is open your freaking eyes and look around you, because it's impacting your neighbors, your friends, your enemies, your community, whatever you want to call the people that are around you. And you can't live, community is about living together. It no longer becomes a community when people are broken, when people can't survive, when people need medical attention, and you have a government that says, I don't really care. They have set it up so that we can just die.
Yeah.
They're okay with it.
Right. And that's why I always say, they talk about we need to eliminate 3 billion people off the planet. I'm like, okay, start with yourself. Eliminate yourself. We'll see how you do, how you fare, and then we'll think about it after we have buried you. But this is the kind of thinking that is going on. That kind of thinking that you got to get rid of so many people, but the country got more food than it that's gonna, rotting on the ground that we can ever think about eating or using, that could be in the stomachs of some of the people that are going to bed hungry at night. Even some right here in America, and USA was considered a soft power remedy to a lot of things that, rather than going to war, we try to win the hearts and minds of the people through medicine, through food, through clothing, and all the things that we give to people from countries that are a whole lot less fortunate than we are. And in disease-stricken areas, we send medicine and all of that to help end stuff that would eventually catch up with us, like Ebola that's breaking out in parts of Africa, like the fever that's in other places, cholera. We got people that can help quell that and slow it to, and even eradicate it, if you will, in most places. But even here now, because we got people like Kennedy and Powell and with over the CDC and the the Food and Drug Administration, uh, they are causing measles to break out in this country in huge numbers. And I think it's in 9 states right about now that that has where measles have broken out, and it could spread rapidly if we are not very careful. Also, with the veterans, the psychology, the psychological problems that affected them after they have been in war, the emotional problems that affected them from war and have to face when they come back home with physical disabling condition, with the spouse that trying to help them through their children who are suffering because of their disability sometimes. And you're pushing people further and further into poverty in this country through the cuts that you're doing, through the cuts that are taking place. And everybody know that poverty is the main producer of crime in the country. Poverty itself is a crime. On the richest nation in the world, that's a crime. And not only that, what it do to the mind. And now they're talking about cutting the Department of Education and sending it to the states. You think about that. When the federal government was sending money to the states, before they were forced to do what they needed to do by the federal government, we had schools, great teachers with broken down schools and bad books that there was really no backs on the books or used hand-me-down books that came from other schools, but we learned anyway, in spite of. But now, because so many people have got educated, especially from the Black community, and especially Black women in particular, they want to shut that down. They want to shut out those individuals. Only 19 people, I believe, got into Harvard Law School in the last year. Out of, when they first started, it was up in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Now it's down to 19 people because they hurry up. Harvard University, who has endowment so big, it's a shame that they worried about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But they went along with the program. It was as if it was some of those professors were really waiting for it to end so they could end bringing in a lot of Black people into the school, even though they got there, but nobody did the work for them. Some of the best people like Michelle Obama, President Obama, just a whole host of Black people came out of Harvard and Yale and Princeton, are some of the most brilliant people on the planet, not because somebody helped them or gave them something. It was because they had the will to move through in spite of all of the name calling and indignity that they had to suffer to go through. They still excelled and came out at the very top. And that's what we have done forever and a day. So you think about that, all the cuts to the Veteran Administration, and then there's the Environment Protection Program. And I'm going to push it back to you, Derek.
Now, what I will say, I pray again. I think the true test, the litmus test will occur on April 1st. Whether or not people say enough is enough, whether or not people say my hatred of you is less than my instinct at self-preservation. That's where we need to be. People need to stop voting to hurt Black people, voting to hurt brown people, voting to hurt the LGBTQ plus people, and start voting to help themselves. At what point do you, I think this is the point in time where maybe you do need to be selfish and start helping yourself, because there's not, most folks, particularly in this area, are not living like Donald Trump. They're not living like Elon Musk. They don't have the wealth to be able to forego this. The people are seeing their homeowners insurance increase. And why, since we're on that, why would you reward the single person that is responsible for everybody's homeowners insurance skyrocketing through the roof in the state of Florida? Why would you say, you know what? You did such a great job raising my homeowners insurance. Then I'm gonna send you to Congress. That's what I think I want to do. Like, that literally makes no sense to me. But at what point in time do you realize, like, okay, it's when is enough enough for you? Like, will you still be? I feel like some people will be homeless on the corner, or let me not say homeless, unhoused on the corner, panhandling, still talking about commie Democrats and they messed up I still feel like we have people that just have these like permanent blinders on, that they don't see anything else but Republican, Republican, Republican. But you are struggling. Like, oftentimes if I struggle with people, like, I'm like when we were out sign waving in last year's election cycle, the people that we got the most hate from, who would like yell and curse, they would have the most raggedy cars ever in life. And I'm like, you are 2 steps from walking, but you hollering about like I'm rich. Oh, my pockets. Well, what are your pockets saying? Because you ain't got no pockets, because you were missing a whole front end. Your quarter pail is gone. So what are you talking about? But it's still like they'd rather blame Democrats or hate me because I am Black. It's at what point in time does your own self-preservation or the instinct to fight kick in? And maybe that means you have to vote a little different. Just give it a try. You don't have to switch parties. Just give it a try. See what happens. And that's where we are right now. So I don't know. We'll see. And that's where I am. Joe, why are you shaking your head?
I just sometimes your analogies, because you do know that people that have lots of money also sometimes ride around in broke up cars. But
Yeah,
I like the analogy. Yeah, you're being, yes, I get it.
You might be old, but it ain't like
right.
You're missing a whole side of your car. Like you might have a dip, but you're not missing stuff.
The bottom line to it is that you're right. I love your analogies because they make me laugh, and sometimes I have to shake my head. And even Vernon came on the screen because he wanted to shake his head too. And if Bill was here, he would shake his head too. They probably would agree with you, first of all, but they would shake their head. See, I already know. Always 3 against 1. Help me, Jerry. But I'm not disagreeing. I think that I think I would have to see a significant win on April 1st and then a continued movement forward for me to believe it. Because we're doing an awful lot of work. We're putting in the time, we're having the conversations, we're knocking the doors, we got a lot of stuff going on. And if they do vote that way, it can't just be a one and done. They can't just say, okay, you know what, my insurance is terrible, so I really don't want Patronus, but everything else is okay. Because politics is local for us. So if everybody else is still going to be, it's just got to be more. I'll take the win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling y'all to stay home. I'm telling you to go vote and we'll be happy. But I still think that, like Derek said, at some point you have to put, what I said, put your party aside. Like Derek didn't even tell you that. We're not asking you. I don't care whether you stay, whatever you want to stay. I just want you to vote with the understanding that your vote counts and your vote impacts going forward, and that you have one opportunity April 1st. There's not going to be another one. We're not going to come back to you and say, okay, now this is we might tell you it's election of a lifetime, but it's not going to be the one that could have changed the state, the community, the nation. It's going to be, oh, let's vote for so-and-so because of whatever. This time, we really can just like he said, just put it back to the way it's supposed to be, checks and balances. We're not going to take both the Senate and the House, so your decision isn't going to make it unfair. It's going to put it back into balance.
Or at least some semblance of balance.
Yeah.
Some kind of semblance.
You still have the upper hand, but
you still good. Like, I don't know. Like at this point, again,
You
can't think like them. I think the problem is that we can't think like you. We just can't. We don't have the capacity to think, I just want other people to live in hell just because of the way you look, because of who you love, because I'm an evil, nasty, awful person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that. I just don't have that. I think everything that you do has to be.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, they do. I know. And that's what I'm saying. I don't have the capacity to try to understand it because I just don't have that, but they do. And so how far do you have to go before you, in that space, whatever part of that is you, that you can say, you know what? This is the right decision. This is going to put money in my pocket. Whatever it is that makes you move, we can absolutely promise you that the decision to put Gabe Alamon in that office will check every box, unless you want the box that's going to check and say, hey, we just want to keep going downhill, 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 and live on the street. What'd you say? We're going to be peddling for money, driving. Yeah. Vehicles with no bumper. Yeah. Go ahead, Vernon.
Jill, I kind of agree with Derek in a sense that people, for whatever reason, and I guess the psychologist, somebody need to do a study on that, on the human behavior, why they do what they do in those situations, like vote against their own interests. Okay, everybody on this panel knows, and probably everybody else listening, and even those folks that don't support Gabe Alamon knows that she probably is the right answer to our question, but they're not going to bring themselves to vote for her. Okay, they're going to vote against. They're either not going to vote or they're going to vote against it. They're going to go vote party line, even at their detriment, and it is at their detriment. And Derek said it right. Why would you want to put a man in office that's raised your insurance rates to the roof? But if I was a betting man, I bet they would.
Yeah, and they will. Ain't no doubt about it. They will. I just told you what Martin Luther King said.
Yeah.
Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. That's deep there. That show you just how that the capacity to develop a mindset that will make you think critically about your own interests. It's not there in a lot of those individuals, and because they're thinking white only, you know, and whiteness not going to feed you. Whiteness got not going to if not going to help your family. In a when the Environmental Protection Agency is gone that protect you to make sure you have clean food, clean water, and all of that. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help our educational system when they cut the Department of Education. That's what you're voting for. You're voting to keep these things intact. The SNAP program, which may be one of your children might need free lunch, or the SNAP program that have the nutrition program that you have. You're voting for fair housing, which you may end up losing your house, because if you lose your job, you could possibly lose your house. If you lose your job. You're voting for veterans benefit who have fought for this country. Veteran administration to make sure the veterans get the benefit that they so deserve. That's what you're voting for. You're voting to keep Social Security, just in case you get older and something happened to you and you can't afford to, you didn't have enough money left over, or you didn't have a 401k. Social Security is a stopgap. It's not the panacea to everything, but it keeps you from being in the streets or keep you from being hungry at night. You're fighting for air traffic controllers if you fly. You're voting for that. You're voting for Department of Transportation, the Occupation and Safety and Health Act, Center for Disease Control, Food and Drug Administration. You're voting to keep the United States Postal Service and Medicare in place. So it's so many things that one is voting for, that sometimes that you take for granted all these benefits and agencies that has been so long put in place, but they only been in place for the last 80 or so years, and many of them was in the last 40 or 50 and 30 years was put in place. So those are the regulations. Those are the things that we need to try to keep in place. Make sure that these regulations don't hurt us. The Consumer Protection Program protects you from credit card fraud and bank fraud. Where bankers are taking your money and taking money out of your account. Credit card company that's overcharging you for using a credit card or using your debit card. That's what you're fighting for. That's what you are voting for, to keep the consumer protection in place that was so hard fought for during the Obama administration. These things came in the last 10 years or so, last 12 years. So those are the things that we need. Climate change is wreaking havoc on this country. And nothing is going to be done about it. We done pulled ourselves out of the World Health Organization. We pulled ourselves out of the Paris Accord, which dealing with climate change. So these are the kinds of things that you are voting to keep in place. The checks and balance that Jill talked about and Derek talked about. Those are the things that you are fighting for. These are what you are voting for. And these are the kinds of things people need to understand, that if they are taken away, you're putting your life at risk, because the food you eat, you go fishing, it might be full of feces and oil and all kinds of stuff that's not conducive for ingestion. So just wanted to make sure people understood that.
I was when you said that, sorry, I was about to say, well, those people who eat tilapia eat that anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I didn't, that's what. So I tried to hold it in, but my laugh escaped. Sorry, that was my fault.
There's a whole mute button. You do realize that, right? I tried to hold it in.
I wasn't on mute. It just kind of popped up. Sorry. A couple of things I wanted to piggyback off with Jill, what she said. I don't think I'm not going to tell you that this is the election of a lifetime. The election of a lifetime occurred in November. We're beyond that. Now we're in a free fall. We're spiraling, about to plummet and explode. This is the election to save your life, and which to me is greater than the election of the lifetime. This is your last ditch effort. We're offering you a parachute to jump out of the plane, get your parachute, or go down with the plane. But I don't want to go down. So I want to take my parachute, but it doesn't do me any good to take my parachute and the rest of y'all say, oh no, I'm gonna go down. So then we don't get no parachute. That's what I would say. Mr. Vernon, I don't know that I agree with what you were saying about we need to do a mental health study to some degree. I don't think it's a mental health study. I think what we have to do is to get people to recognize and be aware of the root of white supremacy and then how the country was built, and recognize it and how it plays a part of your everyday life. And once you get to that position, because why people vote the way I don't even think it's a mental health thing. I think it's just a system of white supremacy that impacts everything and everybody. And this is where we are. And the moment that we can have situational awareness with these type of situations and constructs and ideals, then we can effectively try to move past it, but only if we can recognize. I think a lot of people have a hard time with the concept of white supremacy. When you say it, people are like, oh, no, I'm not a white supremacist. It doesn't necessarily, white supremacy is a construct. It's not you with a white sheet over your face. That's a form of it, but it's not, doesn't take manifest in the white sheets like that everybody else thinks about. So we have to be able to recognize when we're in an environment or when we're playing a part of the construct of white supremacy and how that operates. And then and only then will people stop voting against their own self-interest and vote for the good of everyone. So I think, I forget who said the point, the quote, like, if you can convince the poorest of white men that he is better off than the richest of black man, he will continue to do what you want him to do. And I think that is 100% the case, right? Mm-hmm. So like, that's where we are in this environment. So we have to be able to recognize that, be aware of it, and then fight to move past it. I feel like we're in almost like an 80s, or the cartoons like where I used to grow up on, maybe G.I. Joe or some, or even like, even one better, I'll tell you more recent, Austin Powers, where they're like Dr. Evil. He's like, I'm about to blow up the world. And so one person has to save it. I feel like Trump is Dr. Evil, and this is where we are. And now we need to make the decision to save the world. And I am being hyperbolic about, but I feel like that's where we are in this day and age right now, where we have one man who is about to send us on a trajectory of everybody going home to glory earlier than what they need to go. Right? So it's a matter of when do you get off take the exit ramp? Like, I'm out. I gotta go, and that's where I feel like we gotta do that.
Derek, if I said the mental health part, I didn't mean it's a mental issue. I think what I was trying to say is that somebody need to do a study on why people do that. And I do agree with you when you just said about I think the concept of white supremacy is that just like you said earlier, that the poorest white person think they're better than the richest black person in the world. I had another crude kind of analogy of that. It was when I used to always say that a white person, what is worse in the world, in white people world, nothing is worse than a nigger. Okay. Now, in their world, But if they see all black people as niggas, okay, and then they seeing black people doing better than they are, okay, then if that's what that makes them then, okay, if a nigga is the worst thing in the world and he's doing better than you, and then so you have to elevate yourself above that, okay, and so that's the concept. I think they believe that I need to elevate myself above being a nigger, because that's the worst thing in the world being. And that's why they, in my opinion, that's why they think the way they think, because racism has taught them that any white person is better than the best of black people. That's just pure racist. That's just pure racist.
That's white supremacy.
Okay,
that's
exactly.
the concept of white supremacy.
Exactly right. And so we have to cut through that concept of white supremacy. What the people don't realize, and I think the race thing got everybody blind, white people blinded, because they tell white people it's a race thing, but it's really more of a class thing. You know, it's really the rich versus the poor. That's what's hurting them. But they keep them blinded by the fact by using race, because more people of color probably a lot less richer than white people, and they just use that as a cover. In my opinion, use that as a cover. But if you think about it, if all the poor people raise up against all the rich people, it's going to be hell to pay. And again, I think that was the, and this is my philosophy. I mean, my opinion, my opinion alone. But I think that was the kiss of death, pun intended, for Dr. King. Okay, in 1968, and he had moved out of the race concept, and he started talking about the poor people movement, and he was making traction with the poor people movement. I don't think rich people want poor folks to wake up. That's why they want to get rid of this woke stuff. Once you wake up people, then they have to deal with them. So I don't know. That's my philosophy.
You know, going back to what you said, Vern, with the poor people campaign that Martin Luther King was organizing, but he was organizing on two fronts that most people miss. When he said we're coming to watch this thing, he said to integrate the schools and all that didn't cost the country anything. He said, but now the country gonna have to put billions of dollars into to make sure there are guaranteed jobs and all of that. He said, the next time we're going to Washington, we're going after our checks. He was talking about reparation when he talked about going after our checks. He talked about how the money the land that was given to the white farmers to undergird the European pagans, not pagans, but the European immigrants. And while leaving the black people to the elements of the rain, the sun, and nothing else, no land, no food, no water, no nothing for the black man and woman after the so-called freedom. So that's what he talked about. They killed him because he was moving on two fronts. One was the economic and reparation and economic cooperation. The other one was the poor people march. He had people coming all out of Appalachia and other places like that to join that march in Washington. And that's why he was in Memphis, because he was getting people from all over the country that was poor, that was disconnected from the body politics and government and all of that. So he was organizing these people to make sure that they had some of the good things of America had to offer. So one of the things that we have to see, Martin Luther King was a brilliant man, a learned man as well. And that's what most people think, that he was, more than an ordinary man. But he was just an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And that's why Ralph Abernathy was telling people, don't deify him, because people will not believe they will have the ability to obtain what Martin Luther King was doing as an ordinary man. Because he said, if we deify him, it's going to, make people believe that they are not capable of doing the same thing. And they ridiculed Abernathy, but it was more to it than that little stuff that they put in the book. They sensationalized that so it wouldn't reach the people, and people wouldn't buy the book when the walls come tumbling down. So there.
I'm wondering, like even in this right now, with I think we all have to pay attention just on where things are going. I use, for example, right? We just saw last year the reverse affirmative action, right, in the Supreme Court. So they said, no, you don't get with the hope to limit or restrict the amount of non-white enrollment into these Ivy League and then colleges across the nation, right? So that's number one. Then they're now trying to introduce the bill to stop funding or defund all of the HBCUs. So my FAMUans, my BCUans, my Flow Mode folks, my Edward Waters people. Y'all better be first in the line on March 22nd. Y'all better be number one front and center because your institutions are at stake, right? So it's like we got to do more than what, like, just sit around, right? They said not only can you not, what they just told you, what they're telling you is not only can you not come to our schools, but you can't go to your schools. We ain't doing a damn thing for you. So we just want you to be really the fool, ignorant and uneducated. That's what we're telling you. And if you don't read it as such, I wonder what you're doing, because that's clearly what they're telling you. There's no other alternative, way to look at that, other than they don't want you to be educated. You can't come to their schools. You can't go to your own school. I don't know what to tell you. That's what they're telling you. They're also doing Love versus Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Love versus Virginia. They're trying to challenge that. Love versus Virginia. For those of you all who don't know what Love versus Virginia is, it's what gave people of different races the ability to marry. They're trying to overturn that, which would nullify a whole lot of marriages in this nation.
And on top of that, they're out. One thing you said, Derek, about the HBCUs, but it run the gamut of HBCUs in the country. And that's what all these students on these campuses should understand. That when they cut federal funds to these private colleges like that, and HBCUs are private colleges, when they cut those funds, when they cut those Pell Grants, when they stop this student loan forgiveness, that's going to devastate the HBCUs. And like you said, they don't want you to get education because that's what has, that's what has educated the majority of Black people in this country. Over 70% of the doctors come out of Black colleges, like Meharry and other places.
Well, what do you do? Because we're looking at it. How do you get them to see that now and not after the Pell Grant's gone? Because it seems to me, and I'm not talking about just young people, just in general, it seems to me we share the information, we try to give you the truth, we tell you to look it up, we give you where to go look at it, and it's always, it's not really going to happen. But then when Pell Grant's gone, you're right, when it's gone, it's going to devastate many people, not just Black people.
Right.
More, maybe more so Black and brown communities, but it's going to devastate many people because Black and brown people are not the only people that take that Pell Grant.
Right. But you're right.
So what do you do? Because I feel like we give so much information and then we talk like they understand, or that they're paying attention to it. But I still remember these same people saying, he signed my check. He took a bullet in the ear, so now he's down with us. He's gone to, jail, almost gone to jail. He's a felon, so he's down. This all happened. I'm not making it up. That, yeah, but he didn't really mean it for us. I mean, just like they have every excuse. How do you get them to really understand? Like for us, like in CD1 and CD6, we have an opportunity to do something different. But we also, at least in CD1, I don't really know all the counties in CD6. I don't think there's any HBCUs there. Are they really paying attention? And not just the people in HBCUs, I'm just saying everything. If the veterans who make up the majority of our communities in CD1, we have the largest veteran community. If they don't wake up, think
Right.
about, I mean, we've already said what they put on the line. They put their life on the line. They have done everything. They gave up everything, sacrificed for the United States of America. You come back and you don't even have the services that you're supposed to have 4 years ago, not for any fault, just because there wasn't enough there. And now they're like eliminating them. If they don't wake up and say, hey, you know what? This isn't right. Then you're expecting students and whatever to do that. Like I don't know how you wake them. I don't know how you wake everybody up. I don't know how they're awake, but they're not awake. Like their eyes are open, but they're not seeing.
I guess,
Right.
to your point, like, if I'm being 100% honest, it's honest, all of it. We come on the show every Sunday and we ask, we educate, and we beg for people to come out to help. Like, you can't see me on my hands and knees, but we beg every weekend for folks to come out and help to touch, get the word. But people in the 49 other states can come all the way here to help us, but we're just chilling at home, and that baffles. It really does baffle. I don't understand why. Okay, maybe you can't physically canvass, right? You can get on the phone. You can write a postcard. You can do something. I don't understand why everybody else, and I think that's what is probably the most frustrating thing, because I feel like we're talking not in circles, but maybe I'm just tired. I don't I feel like,
I know you're tired. We're tired. And it's terrible for us at our age to say we're tired when y'all have been in this fight for so long. I don't know how you do it, or how you continue to do it, or how we have people that are literally in their 80s still fighting. And
right.
But I think that's a two-sided question, Derek. I think part of it is that, the way I feel anyway, I'm gonna be like Vernon. So in my space of the way I look at people, I think that everybody lives inside of their box. And in my box, Derek's asking me to vote. So in my box, I'm gonna vote. Now, whether I vote for gay or, how I vote might be different, but that's all you've asked me to do. I don't have to come knock a door of my neighbor or pick up the phone and text and call, knock on doors. I don't have to do that because we traditionally live in a freaking box. We're not puzzle pieces, which is the way I believe God created us. All puzzle pieces have something that sticks out and you're supposed to intermingle with each other and you connect. If we did that, then they would be more engaged in trying to help. The people across the United States are those that are us, just live outside of Florida, that are like, I have an opportunity to do something, so I'm going to do it. It would be different, I think, in what you're saying. So I'm not taking away from what Derek's saying. Everybody that lives in CD1 should be doing something other than just voting. If that's telling 10 people, tell 10 people, but that could be texting, phone banking, knocking doors. But imagine that if New York needed us and we could go and not on an airplane, drive, because we want to get there. Anyway, I digress. But if we wanted to go to New York, that we would go and we would be just like they're saying to their people. But it's because we understand the gravity of the situation. We don't have millions of people here, though. We have we have so many people that have reached out, but we don't have millions of people here. This is so critical that we literally should have millions of people at least texting, phone banking. We have hundreds of thousands, but we don't have millions. Because in our box, we're comfortable. That is why when you knocked on doors in 2024, they were like, I'm good. They didn't realize, even though, like Derek said, we share it, we went to different places. We're not just on the show. Vernon airs this over and over again. Jerry goes out in his space. Derek's in my space. I'm in my space. Christina, like all of us, people were very open to, hey, let's have a conversation. We weren't throwing Project 2025 down your throat. We were opening the book that they are now playbooking from and saying, look at page 846. This is what it says. This is how it impacts you. And this is their plan. And you who decided to vote for him said, he's not really going to do that. He's only going to take line 1. No, that man literally is, what page is he on now, Derek? And he is just like, okay, what does it tell me to do? Let me do that. Okay, and then we do it times 10. So I don't know how you get people to see outside of their box. And if we don't see outside of our box, if you live only within your box, your own house, your own whatever, then you'll never become part of community, because community means you have to intermingle, you have to interlink, you have to care about what happens to other people. You can be a billionaire and still care that those that are not billionaires can't get health insurance, can't get food, can't get the care that they need, and that we have a government that's saying it's okay if you die. We don't really care. Like, you don't need benefits.
You can't even I don't even agree that you're comfortable in your box, because in your box you still have to go buy it.
Yeah, but they
still have to go pay for gas.
But they buy it.
Box, you still have to pay your rent.
Like, yeah, but do you see anybody stopping going to get gas?
Hella getting smaller.
Now that might be true, but they're still in their box.
Went from here to like here, and you're still existing in your box. Like,
until their box is
at what point in time when your box don't fit you no more, or you don't have a damn box, will you say, oh, well, maybe I need to do something?
Well, you just said, Derek, that they're driving down the street with a half a car. So they're fine with their tiny little box.
Yeah,
as long as they have their box. I'm just saying, if they're fine with the car, they're fine with the tiny box.
Yeah, with that wire holding the radiator in.
Literally, I saw people, you could see their whole engine, but it had a nerve to have a hood, but the whole quarter panels on the sides were gone. I'm like, I can see your radiator, I can see your windshield washer reserve, like, but you hollering at me. Oh, okay, all right. You know, like, I don't know. This stuff will always ever perplex me, and maybe I'm tired, and maybe April 1st, I'll be like, wow, okay, so this is why we did this, right? So that's what I'm going to go with. April 1st, we're going to have like a big thing, or it's just going to be sweeping across. Don't shake it, because then I'm going to be all depressed. This is what we're going to do.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing that we're going to I need to have a party, because I can't imagine what this looks like to have a repeat of 2024.
Right.
I just can't imagine the work that's been put in, the people that are flooding in. I don't want that disappointment, not only for our own community, but for the hundreds of thousands of people that have put time and energy into CD1 and CD6 trying to help save us and them.
Right.
I don't want them to go through that letdown that we had in 2024 again. I'm not sure they'll sustain it.
Unequivocally, I can say that we are working harder now than we worked in 2024. Like it is every day, all day. You know, like Jill said, 12 hours. It ain't even 12. Like it literally is every day, all day, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. So I just hope that someone else will join the fight. Maybe I can go, instead of going to bed at 11:05, I can go at 10:50.
Right there, you was asking the question, how can the HBCUs also save themselves, help save the students, help save the HBCU? I think there should be something in every hallway at every HBCU or in every billboard about what they could possibly lose through losing their Pell Grants. I think each professor ought to have something in their class to talk about how the HBCUs could be decimated in 4 years. Many of them will fold because they just don't have the money to hold. They depend on that money from the federal government. They depend on the Pell Grants. And because many of the students that, I would say, a big majority of the students that go to HBCUs are not, they're getting Pell Grants or some kind of grant to go to that college or a scholarship. The big colleges, like the big white colleges, going to survive because they got a lot of endowment, they got a lot of supporters, and they have all the athletes who bring tons of money to those colleges. Those athletes are going to have to eventually come home and bring money to the historic Black colleges because they're not going to be able to get the grants and Pell Grants, student loan forgiveness that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing that helped a lot of people that was in debt, from college debt. They're going to need to be taught how this politics work. And like the civics class we had the other night, when we were telling people, the women in there, because of their name change, they're going to either have to have a birth certificate or passport. Their own driver's license is not going to be sufficient for them to register to vote because the laws changing, and they changing fast. And the Civil Rights Bill that has, most people don't realize the Civil Rights Bill was not just for Black people. Whites benefited under the Civil Rights Bill. Brown people benefited under the Civil Rights Bill. Women benefited under the Civil Rights Bill. So it has helped enormous amount of people because they had the right to sue for discrimination under the Civil Rights Bill. And when people think that if you put something in writing, like the 900-page 2025 bill that they got, manifesto or whatever you want to call it, when they put it in writing, it becomes an action plan that can be implemented at any time. And that's what people fail to realize, that you don't do a 900-page manifesto without intending to implement that program that you have put together. So they have done that, and they have done it, and they're doing it with jet-like speed, and it's doing some irreparable damage to the country and to the economy of this country. And that's what they want, because then they can put people against each other like never before because everybody be fighting over the crumbs. But we're gonna end up have to work with people that we don't like or care about, and we're gonna save the country. The indifference that we have with each other, we're gonna have to put them aside until a time point. You know, that's gonna have to happen. So this thing is moving so fast that it's almost out of control, and like Joe Glover says that January was a long year. Say a long year in January. It's like it's been 4 years, like a whole year in 1 month that they have just ran this country into the ground, really, with what they have done. But I know our time is just about up. And this is Women History Month. And I want to just say that some of the women that I know personally, like Jill, happy History Month, brilliant woman, brilliant women that I've known all over. My late wife, Carol McIntosh. There are others that I know that I want to say happy Women History Month to every woman out there, and especially those that's doing what has to be done to make this a better world. Back to you, Derek.
Certainly, I think that we've had a great show tonight. I thank everybody for joining us this evening. Tune in with us next week. Safe travels, Christina, on your way back. And we will see you next week, same time, same channel. Have a terrific week, everybody. Go vote. Go get the people to go vote and do your part. Have a great night. See you in.
Good night.